you are a therapist and you are performing this exercise with a patient, you want the patient to be in a prone position and you want their hands to be in the shape of a diamond so they can rest their head on there. I'm going to be using Johnny as my patient right over here, but what we want to do is once they're in this prone position, Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to be your own therapist by demonstrating the top 5 strengthening exercises for posture correction, and more specifically, I'm going to be teaching you how to correct a rib flare. Before I get on with the exercises, I first want to explain what exactly a rib flare is and why exactly you should care, and in order to do that, I'm going to need the help of my good friend, Johnny Bones. So Johnny, get over here and show your coastals to the crowd. Right over here, this is your rib cage, and when you have a rib flare, it can present in several ways. 2 common ways is going to be an in flare and an out flare. When you have an in flare, what's going to happen is the ribs are going to become depressed, so they're going to go down toward the ground, and then you're also going to get this medial tilt, so the ribs are going to be projecting closer toward the spine. And then an out flare is the opposite. With an out flare, you're going to get this elevation of the ribs where the ribs are flaring out, and then you're also going to get this lateral tilt where the ribs are going to pop out. And the out flare is what we're going to be focusing on today. And if you don't address it, it can lead to things like low back pain, hip pain. It could lead to also breathing dysfunction, so you would want to address it immediately. And one of the ways in which we could address it would be to do some strengthening exercises for the muscles that are responsible for depression of the rib cage, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing for you guys today. So without further ado, here are the top 5 strengthening exercises for posture correction to correct a rib flare. Technically, the first 4 exercises that I'm going to be demonstrating for you today are not responsible for depression of the rib cage. However, because they all attach below the rib cage and attach to the rib cage, when the ribs become elevated, they're going to turn into rib depressors. And the first strengthening exercise for posture correction to correct a rib flare is going to be for the rectus abdominis muscle. And more specifically, we're going to be targeting the supraumbilical fibers, meaning the fibers above the umbilicus or above the belly button. For it, we're going to go ahead and get into a supine position, meaning you're going to be laying down on your back. You want to flex your knees to 90 degrees and plant your feet firmly on the floor. You want to maintain retroversion of pelvis, flat lumbar, flat thoracic, chin tucked in, crown head away, eyes looking down between your thighs to put the dura mater under tension. With the arms, you're going to place them down by your side, and then you want to elevate your trunk to the level of the sternum. Once you get up to the sternum, that's going to be your starting position. And then the principle of action, we're going to go into flexion of the trunk to the level of the L3 vertebra. If you don't know where the L3 vertebra is, it's roughly at the level of the umbilicus, and you want to stop right over there. You don't want to go any higher. But this is the strengthening exercise for the rectus abdominis muscle, more specifically the supraumbilical fibers. Next, the second strengthening exercise for posture correction to correct a rib flare is going to be for the external oblique muscle. And more specifically, once again, we're going to be targeting the supraumbilical fibers, meaning the fibers above the umbilicus. For it, once again, we're in a supine position with our knees flexed to 90 degrees and the feet planted firmly on the floor. We've got retroversion of pelvis, flat lumbar, flat thoracic, chin tucked in, crown head away, eyes looking down between our thighs to put the dura mater under tension. With the contralateral arm, so the arm opposite to the side that we're strengthening, we're going to go ahead and cup the shoulder. And then with the ipsilateral arm, what we're going to do is go into maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation, and then we're going to project the arm on a diagonal. So we're going to cross our body, and then the principle of action, we want to go into flexion and rotation. So we're doing positive torsion. We're going to flex, and for this one right over here, we want to go to the level of the L3 vertebra, so once again to the level of the umbilicus, and we want to make sure that the shoulder crosses the midline. But this is the strengthening exercise for the external oblique muscle, specifically the supraumbilical fibers. Next, the third strengthening exercise for posture correction to correct a rib flare is going to be for the internal oblique. For the internal oblique, same setup position. We got the knees flexed to 90 degrees. We're in a supine position, retroversion of pelvis, flat lumbar, flat thoracic, chin tucked in, crown head away, eyes looking down between our thighs to put the dura mater under tension. Then with the arms, we want to go ahead and cup both arms over the shoulder. And for this one, once again, we're going to be doing positive torsion. So we're going to do a combination of lateral flexion. So we're going to flex toward the side that we're strengthening. And then we're going to do flexion by flexing the trunk upward. And we're going to do that to the level of the L3 vertebra once again. So the level of the umbilicus. So we go do a side bend, flexion, come back to the start, and this is the strengthening exercise for the internal oblique muscle, more specifically the supraumbilical fibers. Next, the fourth strengthening exercise for posture correction to correct a rib flare is going to be for the thoracic diaphragm. For the thoracic diaphragm exercise, setup position is the same. We got flexion of knees to 90 degrees, supine position, plant the feet firmly on the floor, retroversion of pelvis, flat lumbar, flat thoracic, chin tucked in, crown head away, eyes looking down between your thighs to put the dura mater under tension. And then for this one, we're going to need a little bit of a weight. For this one, ideally you want to start with 20% of your body weight, and you're going to put the weight on your stomach. And then what you want to do is you are going to inhale, and when you inhale, you want to drive your umbilicus or your belly button up toward the sky as much as you can. And then when you exhale, you're going to drive the spine, or you're going to drive the umbilicus down toward the spine. But this is the strengthening exercise for the thoracic diaphragm muscle. And last, the fifth and final strengthening exercise for posture correction to correct a rib flare is going to be for the serratus posterior inferior muscle. More specifically for this one right over here, I'm going to be taking you through two different variations. One of them is going to be if you are a therapist performing this on a patient, and then the second variation is going to be if you are performing this by yourself. Let's say you are a therapist and you are performing this exercise with a patient. You want the patient to be in a prone position, and you want their hands to be in the shape of a diamond so they can rest their head on there. I'm going to be using Johnny as my patient right over here. But what we want to do is once they're in this prone position, we want to go ahead and have them inhale, and we want to press at the serratus posterior inferior. So when they end up inhaling, we're going to press down, and then they are going to exhale. And when they exhale, they want to resist the ribs going down toward the floor. And then once they finish exhaling, we're going to do a recoil. What a recoil is you are going to quickly just lift your hands off. So they're going to inhale. Once they've finished inhaling, take a nice deep breath. They're going to exhale, resist the pressure, and then once they get to the end of the exhale, you quickly let go of the hands. And that is how you perform this exercise on a patient if you are a therapist. If you are a patient yourself and you are doing this exercise by yourself, what you can do is the exact same thing, only without the recoil. So you're going to go ahead and get into a prone position. You're going to take your arms. You're going to make a nice little diamond to rest your head. You're going to inhale. When you inhale, you want your rib cage to go up toward the sky as high as possible. And then when you exhale, you want to try and prevent your rib cage from going down toward the ground. And that is the strengthening exercise for the serratus posterior inferior. And there you have it. Those were the top 5 strengthening exercises for posture correction to correct a rib flare. If you have a rib flare, or if you have issues with regard to low back pain, or if you have any type of breathing dysfunction, go ahead and give those exercises a try. And if you have given them a try, go ahead and drop your comments down in the comments section. Let me know what you guys thought. In terms of the actual programming for the strengthening exercises, what you want to do is 3 sets of 50 repetitions. That's 5-0, not 1-5 for each of the strengthening exercises. The reason we're going so high with the repetitions is because we're trying to elicit a postural change. And whenever we're trying to elicit a postural change, one of the most important things is going to be accumulating enough time under tension. And if we do the typical 8 to 12 bodybuilding repetition rep range, we're not going to be able to accumulate that time under tension. So 3 sets of 50 repetitions for each of the strengthening exercises is what you want to do. And then this coming Saturday in a couple days at 10 o'clock a.m., I'm going to be taking you through the top 5 myofascial stretching exercises for posture correction to correct a rib flare. And those exercises are going to be a terrific complement to the exercises that we just did today. So be out on the lookout for that this Saturday at 10 o'clock a.m. If you have any questions at all with regard to any of the exercises that I did today, go ahead and ask your questions down in the comment section so I can help you guys out. But that's pretty much it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I know to keep making these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.